come. Ah, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Ah, yes, it will. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. And I go to my brother. I say, brother, help me please. But it winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Whoa, there's been times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will.
Woke up this morning, saw that smoke up in the sky. A crowd of people watching, asking who and how and why. Flames are rolling down the city, rolling for a mile. How did it get so bad, you ask? It's been burning for a while. You say it's in the eye of the beholder. Well, I'll just go and check. Now that ain't no chip up on my shoulder, that's your boot up on my neck. How'd these flames go so far, you ask? Now they've gone 1,000 miles. I got a news flash for you. It's been burning for a while. It's been burning for a while down here. Glad you stopped to see. And ain't no water gonna douse it down till you hear from me. You say it's in the eye of the beholder. Well, I'll just go and check. Now that ain't no chip up on my shoulder, that's your boot up on my neck. They say it's in the eye of the beholder. Well, I'll just go and check. Now that ain't no chip up on my shoulder, that's your boot up on my neck. It's been burning for a while. 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 It's been burning for a while down here. Glad you stopped to see. Ain't no water gonna douse it down until you hear from me. Until you hear from me.
This bell 3 times. The first is to call us back into covenant. We are on the unceded land of the Mwakme tribe of the Ohlone people. They were displaced, colonized, and their land taken. Now they seek to regain their land as well as pass on their heritage, customs, and culture to their descendants. Everything we do to restore their rights, equality, and sovereignty is working our way back into covenant. The second calls us into relationship with ourselves and one another, to recognize broken promises, unhealed hurt, lingering scars where being right was more important than being whole. We intentionally gather to invite an ever-widening circle of compassion, commitment, and solidarity until we are all beloved to one another. And the third calls us into relationship with our children and our children's children, out to the 7th generation, helping us to realize that what we do now, or fail to do, will be felt by those who come after us.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm Terry King, your worship associate today. And when Mark told me he was planning a service called Whitesplaining to White People, the title made me laugh. I wanted to help him with it because, one, I'm white, and two, the injustice of racism matters to me. But rather than splaining, I want to share an experience and ask for your support. In the fall of 2020, a couple of us joined Greg in taking a training sponsored by All Souls Tulsa to prime us for holding an anti-racism class called Rewire here at Mission Peak. Some of y'all took that, right? Well, we started by taking an assessment called the IDI, the Intercultural Development Inventory, to gauge our cross-cultural awareness and skill sets. I figured I'd do okay. I mean, after all, during my career, I worked with people from all over the world, took the corporate cultural sensitivity training, traveled, lived in a diverse neighborhood, worked on social justice projects. My heart is in the right place. So I took the test. Y'all. The results showed a significant gap between my actual multicultural competence and how effective I thought I was. What? You know, initially I was skeptical, in disbelief. But after some research and some introspection, I concluded the results were probably valid. And then I was mortified. My self-image was rattled. My confidence was shaken. Could I even consider myself a progressive? Did everyone else see me as inept? And most importantly, who had I obliviously hurt over the years? Ouch. Eventually, I decided to see what else the assessment might teach me. On a continuum of intercultural development, from a monocultural mindset at the low end, i.e., there's only one way, to an intercultural mindset at the high end, i.e., diversity is beautiful, my score fell in the big middle range in a band called minimization, meaning that in a desire for harmony, I resorted to conflict avoidance. I tended to minimize differences and to assume we're all alike at the core, so why can't we just get along and do things, the established way? Which is easy for a person from the dominant culture and disparaging to people from other cultures. Suggestions for improvement included becoming more aware of my own white culture, that it is a culture, and paying careful attention to the ways beliefs and behavior patterns may differ across cultures. Basically, to stop glossing over things, to stop assuming my sincerely good intentions make up for my ignorance, to really listen and accept when someone tells me their experience is not the same as mine. This is necessary in order to engage with others in a more authentic, personal, respectful, and genuinely appreciative way. Humbling stuff. Turns out 65% of the people who take the IDI assessment fall into that minimization band. 65%. With the same challenges and growing edges. So the good news is I'm not a horrible person, and I'm not alone. The bad news is, statistically, it's likely that a lot of us here are in the very same boat with me. I am trying, many of us are trying, to do better. And yet, it takes more than good intentions. Overcoming ingrained habits and childhood conditioning and societal influences is hard. But building beloved community where we all belong, that's worth it. Embracing and loving each person as they are, that matters. I believe that despite the hate that's swirling around us, we can make the world more loving. That starts with facing some hard truths and then doing some hard work, which is always easier alongside good friends. You all are my friends. Please, let's do this together. And now, let us light the chalice. Please join with me in reciting these words, which call us together as a community and with Unitarian Universalists across the globe. Shake. We light this chalice to remind ourselves to treat all people kindly, because we are all one family. To take good care of the earth, because it is our home. To live lives filled with goodness and love, because that is how we will become the best people we can be.
Good morning, friends. Thank you all for coming today. Welcome to Mission Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Jay Steele. My pronouns are he and his, and I'm a member of the board. I'm the president this year. Yoo-hoo! We are so glad you joined us this morning. I'm going to start by highlighting some current announcements. Most of you probably are aware of this already, but we're having a memorial for Alan today at 1:30 here in Cole Hall. Alan Davis. Also, you should note that it seems like this has come up. We've updated the MPUUC directory of members and friends, and it's available in the members only section of our website. You need one password for the members only section and another to open up the directory. We've had some problems with people coming in and getting the addresses and then sending us spam emails about Reverend Greg needing cash or something right away. Please ignore messages like that. There are official ways to message that instead. If you do not recall your passwords, I won't say it right now, but please email our congregational administrator at office@mpuuc.org if you need that. Or come to me. There's a parents' night out on Saturday, October 4th. Please RSVP. The link is in the newsletter. We are hosting our third annual Diwali potluck dinner on October 20th from 5:30 to 8 on Monday, October 20th. MPUUC will order some South Asian main dishes. You bring the sides, wear your favorite salwar if you'd like, or just come in something comfy. There will be an opportunity to make some art and be together, celebrating the Festival of Light, the triumph of good over evil. Don't miss it. The link for the RSVP is on the Week on the Peak newsletter. Lastly, please silence your electronic devices. Unitarian Universalism is a radically inclusive, non-doctrinal, non-dogmatic, open-minded, and open-hearted faith. We are people who are coming at truth from different paths. We gather together across different identities, experiences, and beliefs to affirm and promote the inherent worth of every person. Together we see our job is to love the hate out of this world, heal the hurt in ourselves and one another, and to be the change we'd like to see in the world. Do we have any guests for the first time? One guest, welcome. If you have questions, please see Deanna at the membership table. And for your purposes, there's a book that we have, the book for Joys and Concerns. Somebody, we need a book for Joys and Concerns. Thank you, Deanna. And we are so glad to be together today. Let us end by asking everyone in Zoomlandia and everyone in Cole Hall to wave to one another and feel the joy of being part of one large beloved community. Welcome and thank you to our members and friends near and far.
See another's woe and not be in sorrow too. Can I see another's grief and not seek for kind relief? Can I see a falling tear and not feel my sorrow share? Can a father see his child weep nor be with sorrow filled? Can a mother sit and hear infant groan and infant fear? No, no, never can it be. Never, never can it be.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you can climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
It's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless, and I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
Yeah, see, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See, you're
out.
not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just... Sometimes it's like there's this achy... I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
Yeah, that sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. Ow. If you would just...
Don't...
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can go on? We can work it out. We can work it out.
For the purposes of today's service, the nail is an illustration not of how someone can be oblivious to the obvious, but of how strong feelings are within us, how important to address those feelings in the people we care about. because otherwise they can't hear us if we do not acknowledge them.
Good morning. Good to see you here. In 2020, our church MPUUC voted to display a Black Lives Matter banner outside of our congregation and jointly with the Methodists. A little bit before that, around the same time, in 2019, a former MPUUC member, Karen Lynn, co-authored a book called Mistakes and Miracles, where she specifically talked about microaggressions and unwelcoming behavior that she experienced in this congregation. Ouch. Microaggressions are the brief daily indignities that people of color experience almost every day, negative focuses to be conveyed to them. We realized that we needed to educate ourselves about racism and oppression. So as a congregation, we formed the Anti-Racist, Anti-Oppression Committee, or ARO in short. We formed that in 2020. One of the things our Anti-Racism and Anti-Oppression Committee did, we decided to focus on microaggressions as we have unintentionally created them. So what are microaggressions? They're common in UU congregations and elsewhere in society. People are searching for places without microaggressions. We want to be a place that welcomes all people. Often, white people won't say anything when standing next to a person of color who has been the target of a microaggression, and that makes the person of color feel like this isn't a safe place. So we need to do better. We chose this topic because microaggressions have caused harm by impacting the mental and physical health of targeted people, by making people feel invalidated, by giving us a false sense of being nice when we harm others, often unintentionally, and making us far less attractive to others who might be interested in joining our community. Our microaggressions training, workshops, and improvisations have helped us to learn to listen more and consider the impact of what we say, to understand that we will make mistakes because we are all human beings, to acknowledge our imperfections, apologize, and commit to doing better. We've held this microaggressions workshop, I think, 3 or 4 times now. If you want to learn more, or if you want to join us in this effort, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, and thank you, Arrow. It's time for the collection, also known as our practice of generosity. Let's silently reflect on the abundance we have in our lives and all of the gifts that we ourselves are responsible for stewarding. May we feel the satisfaction that comes from making thoughtful choices about how we support our ministry of loving the hate out of the world. The slide shows a few of the many ways you can donate financially to Mission Peak. You can give cash, or pay by check, or pay online. However you choose to do it, and however much you give, your offering is greatly appreciated and will be put to good use. Thank you for all of the ways that you live your values, with your compassion, with your steady work, with your principled and brave actions, and yes, with your financial support. Your contributions sustain our community.
One of the things that allows us to find hope and meaning, especially in the hard times, is the love and support we show one another. If you have a joy or concern that by sharing with this caring community might bring the encouragement or resilience you are needing, please write it briefly now in the chat, or equally briefly over there in the book, your name and whether you're sharing is a joy or concern. If you are here in person, you can use the book. Please write clearly. And if you would like to place a stone for a joy or concern, you may do so while the music plays. If your need is personal, you can also send an email to our minister for a follow-up conversation. such are the joys and concerns that we have today listed. And one more, for those joys or concerns too tender to tell, that we hold in our hearts and we hold for everybody, because we know that they're out there. Thank you. Okay. I have a small reading here. It's written by Martin Luther King some 62 years ago. This is just a small excerpt from a letter from Birmingham jail. Excuse me. I must make two honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. First, I must confess that over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizen's counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. I had hoped that the white moderate would understand that law and order exist for the purpose of establishing justice, and that when they fail in this purpose, they become dangerously structured dams that block the flow of social progress. I had hoped that the white moderate would understand that the present tension in the South is a necessary phase of the transition from an obnoxious negative peace in which the Negro passively accepted his unjust plight to a substantive and positive peace in which all men will respect the dignity and worth of human personality. Actually, we who engage in nonviolent direct action are not the creators of tension. We merely bring to the surface the hidden tension that is already alive. We bring it out in the open where it can be seen and dealt with, like a boil that can never be cured so long as it is covered up, but must be opened with all its ugliness to the natural medicines of air and light. Injustice must be exposed with all the tension its exposure creates to the light of human conscience and the air of national opinion before it can be cured. In your statement, you assert that our actions, even though peaceful, must be condemned because they precipitate violence. But is this a logical assertion? Isn't this like condemning a robbed man because his possession of money precipitated the evil act of robbery? Isn't this like condemning Socrates because his unswerving commitment to truth and his philosophical inquiries precipitated the act by the misguided populace in which they made him drink hemlock? Isn't this like condemning Jesus because his unique God consciousness and never-ceasing devotion to God's will precipitated the evil act of crucifixion? We must come to see that, as the federal courts have consistently affirmed, it is wrong to urge an individual to cease his efforts to gain his basic constitutional rights because the quest may precipitate violence. Society must protect the robbed and punish the robber. I had also hoped that the white moderate would reject the myth concerning time in relation to the struggle for freedom. I have just received a letter from a white brother in Texas. He writes, and quote, All Christians know that the colored people will receive equal rights eventually, but it is possible that you are in too great a religious hurry. It has taken Christianity almost 2,000 years to accomplish what it has. The teachings of Christ take time to come to earth." Close quote. Such an attitude stems from a tragic misconception of time, from the strangely irrational notion that there is something in the very flow of time that will inevitably cure all ills. Actually, time itself is neutral. It can be used either destructively or constructively. More and more I feel that the people of ill will have used time much more effectively than have the people of goodwill. We will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the hateful words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people. Human progress never rolls in on wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts of men willing to be co-workers with God, and without this hard work, time itself becomes an ally of the forces of social stagnation. We must use time creatively in the knowledge that the time is always ripe to do right. Now is the time to make real the promise of democracy and transform our pending national elegy into a creative psalm of brotherhood. Now is the time to lift our national policy from the quicksand of racial injustice to the solid rock of human dignity. Before I launch into this presentation, I have two confessions to make. My first confession is that although we here at Mission Peak attempt to be an inclusive and welcoming congregation, today I am only directing my talk to one group. That group of people that look like me, white. For everyone else, I invite you to listen along and see what I get right or wrong. Today's lesson is not meant for everyone else, as they do not require it, but we do. I beg your forgiveness in a certain latitude. For my second confession, I acknowledge that I will be talking about many transgressions committed and yet to be committed by the aforementioned white people. The confession itself is that I am the worst of the transgressors. I may have my own chapter in Karen Lynn's book. Everything I mentioned here and things that I do not, I have done. And I have done them way too many times. I doubt that I shall ever undo the harm I have done, nor shall I become the kind of person who no longer puts any pain into the world. That I never knew of nor meant any harm to anyone makes no never mind. But this is my journey, the journey of all of us. I begin from the work of Lucia Michelle called White Allies Handbook. Ms. Michelle was seeking to produce white allies in the struggle for African American emancipation. She was looking to find allies who could do more good than harm. The subtitle of the book is 4 Weeks to Join the Racial Justice Fight for Black Women. Each week leads to becoming more aware of what is involved and what is required of the prospective ally. Then comes what skills are necessary and how to work with Black women and not need to be in charge. The book is aimed at white women, but the discussion is applicable to anyone who wishes to become an ally. I have excerpted a selection of questions that she provides from the first week to get an idea of what is involved. Each operation delves into some of the barriers to accomplish in becoming an effective ally. Ms. Michelle explicitly states that white people are not prepared to lead anti-racism work without a great deal of preparation and continued oversight. I feel that I must lead this presentation notwithstanding my lack of preparation, because I am not claiming to be doing the work of anti-racism here, but I am teaching any such thing, nor am I teaching any such thing to anyone. It is something that is important to make everyone aware of and point them in a direction. When we are done here today, we will be no further along the path to becoming an ally than before I started speaking, but we will have a better understanding of what the job entails. Ms. Michelle places many questions throughout her composition that help white women, and now us, focus on the difficulties that our own minds bring to us in becoming an ally. I will go through a selection of these questions. So here we go. Question 1, what do you think racism means? Ms. Michelle brings to the concept a power of influence, power to influence. White people have that power, and Black people do not. Housing, education, quality of health care, employment, criminal justice matters, and more. Anti-racism involves not just fighting prejudice, but ending the power dynamic. Anything short of that accomplishes next to nothing. We spent a lunch and learn last week with Reverend Barry Kammer in order to try and get an idea about that power dynamic. Question 2. What is the problem with calling yourself an ally versus earning the title by having a person of color call you one? A significant number of white people tend to think that they are being good people by not being bad people. Well, it does seem by what I regard as a rule of the universe that if you do not have a profound shared life experience, you will not have the understanding of another person's life. Given how much there is to learn, it does not seem rational to expect a new entrant onto the scene would have the capacity to make such an assessment. Question 3. Why do white people believe they have nothing more to learn? A combination of factors are involved. Firstly, there is too much to unlearn. The concept of institutionalized or structured racism includes a great deal of effort from an early age to make it seem that racism is the natural order of existence. What has been introduced from an early age and repeated in one way or another over and over again is very difficult to look past. Even people who are able to recognize iniquity rarely are able to tell where the iniquity seems to come from. Add into that, when we first learn about a new system, we quickly obtain the basic outline and think that we have all the knowledge. In fact, what we have is too little to work with, and when we understand the nuances and complexities, we realize how much more there is to understand. This is known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. Happens to everyone. Question 4. How do white people break out of their comfort zone when learning to become an effective ally? Acceptance. Accepting that it will be mentally painful to proceed. Accepting that they are not able to assess how well they are doing without help from much more experienced other white people or from the black people who are experiencing the consequences of even unintended transgressions. Treating this work like heavy exercise and knowing that it will hurt, but there are results that make the effort worthwhile. Question 5. Why is it important that allies listen more than they talk? Which is good advice for everybody. This is something I learned only on my work with families caring for a mentally ill person. If your lips are moving, your mind is not engaged. You can't hear somebody else if you're talking at the same time. Frequently spending a lot of time talking is about protecting yourself from hearing unpleasant truths. People often don't recognize microaggressions for what they are. If you don't listen, you don't learn. Question 6. How will you keep learning so you continually improve as an ally? Take humility as your best friend. You can never have enough learning. Accept the judgment of your mentor of color and take it in as new information. And never stop looking for new sources of information on your own. Accepting all that you have gotten so far as good and sufficient will leave you short of necessary, If you accept all you have gotten so far as good and sufficient, then you will leave yourself short of necessary foundation. Become responsible for yourself. Persons of color are not our personal spirit animals. Expecting them to mentor us constantly is in itself a transgression. Question 7. What are some reasons white people don't believe they have white privilege? Privilege is something white people do not experience consciously. Almost everyone will focus on the difficulties they have had in life, believing that that is proof they have no privilege. But the privilege is of a different nature. The privilege is in not having an institutional extra set of difficulties that are sometimes deadly. Question 8. Why are white people defensive and uncomfortable about their white privilege? It is difficult to reconcile the notion that giving up something means losing something of value. Giving up the privilege does not take anything away from you while giving something of great importance to someone else. If you have been helped along by that privilege for many years and suddenly it becomes an issue in the foreground, you can feel that you are under attack for something you did intentionally when you think you did not. When in this situation, people often let emotion take over as a protective measure. And as we've seen, emotion is very, very, very strong. And the decisions that it makes do not bode well. Question 9. What scares you about the conversations you'll have with other white people? If the conversations involve anti-racism, then there are consequences. There can be retribution. The greatest fear is the loss of connection. You take the chance that relatives, friends, or colleagues will break off ties with you. Loss of connection is a great threat. Connection is one of the greatest needs of human beings. Question 10. Why are white people solely responsible for addressing the harm other white people cause? There is a moral obligation to rectify past wrongs. The need to protect black partners from being further traumatized and triggered is constant. Whites have more impact on whites, especially those who can easily mentally protect themselves when confronted by a black person and lash out. It is a learning opportunity. Question 11. How will you work to prevent your emotions from hindering your allyship? Criticism meant to expand our understanding can easily be interpreted by the amygdala in the brain as an attack on our self-esteem. Recognize that it is going to come, and have the courage to accept the criticism without defending or providing excuses. This is just a sample of the questions that Ms. Michelle brings to the table. There are many more, and not in the order I have given them. They come with discussion and further work to be done on each one. The answers I have provided, these are my answers, are just skimming the surface. There's a great deal more that may be said. Certainly more than I am aware of. I highly recommend the book, White Allies Handbook, as a beginning. The importance of the work of becoming an ally is clear in one of the things included by her, and I quote, "You must come to the conclusion that anger and shame won't kill you. But your racism and white supremacy might kill us." Close quote. Anti-racism is about confronting the power that can destroy and fighting it directly. We are called to confront white people who perpetuate the system. We have that privilege to do so. We have an obligation built over all of the time till now in which we have not done so. Only action will move the needle. Knowledge, good thoughts, and foregoing bad actions will not change one iota of a power struggle. But how to go forth, how to confront. I cannot help your internal struggles, but I can provide some skills for those difficult conversations. I have a communication module that I developed for being able to communicate with someone who has a serious mental illness. It is designed to allow a conversation with someone who is looking for reasons why they should end the conversation. I have edited it in such a way as to make it appropriate for someone who believes the endemic racism in this country is desirable. The premise behind it is that we can get to the person to actually start thinking about what racism means and to explain it to you in such a way that they begin to think about it again. It does not involve you agreeing with them. It will not cure anything, but it is designed to allow the conversation and the progress that may flow from that. And we begin first with do no harm. If you are digging yourself into a hole, quit digging. We must first orient ourselves to the idea that communication has two targets. That otherwise good person who is the target, who is often hidden from you by the thought patterns that have been established within them. The second is the emotional construct that has been created and desires its own existence. The racism with its own wants and demands. Thirdly, we must understand the frame of reference that our target has. We need to be aware of their level of awareness of their own racism. We need to gauge the variations and intensity of the reactions they have to alternative views. Next, gauge how much potential sympathy they may have for people treated unfairly. How focused are they on perceived profit or loss that might accompany losing the existing culture? We must understand that they tend to have a focus on the present and what they perceive to be their current difficulties. A focus on the present means they do not learn from the past, nor do they prepare for the future. Only consequences in the present will reach their level of awareness. Control is very important to them, especially as they feel so many people are attempting to control them, causing them to treat outsiders as already prepared to control. For the marginalized individuals, they have been watching others move on with their lives, and this fills them with resentment and looking for an explanation for something they do not understand. When engaging with someone this complex frame of reference, avoid increasing stress and try not to argue with them. We are seeking to reach common ground. Validation of emotion, reflective listening, affirmations, and empathy are useful. All of this can be done without agreeing with their viewpoint. Listen for cues that signal concept of fairness that might resonate with your target. Now, I've shown up here, or Eric has, an emotion wheel. There are two of them. For if you need some ideas of what kinds of emotions people can feel and be thinking of them so that you can be looking for what you see and how to respond to it with the validation that of the truth of their feeling of it without the truth of its justification. Further on, more specifically, there is vocabulary to avoid. It is vocabulary that they might interpret as attempting to take control. One important concept is to not use the word no or otherwise directly contradict what they were saying. Negation of their position is put forward as an I statement that is a positive contradiction, as in, I believe all people are people of goodwill, to refute, they are coming to get us in our sleep, instead of, no, you are obviously wrong. Okay. You'll get pushback. Keep it simple, one thing at a time. Speak one-on-one, making sure you listen much more than you speak. They want very much to be heard, even by an enemy. Keep your voice low and lower it further if their voice goes up. Really simple, yeah? There are many very important bodies of work to perform in this day and age. We all have one that calls us particularly and especially. Mine is mental health. Anti-racism is the work that lays a foundation for undoing the power structure that makes it difficult to address all other issues in our society. Racism has an economic reinforcement that empowers the great brokers to keep us all divided in running in all directions. I invite us to make anti-racism a core effort, a center of perpetual action. We have a quest of noble proportions, and no one better to describe it than Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. The mythological hero, setting forth from their common day abode, proceeds to the threshold of adventure. There they encounter a shadow presence that guards the passage. The hero may conciliate this power and go into the kingdom of the dark. Beyond the threshold, then, the hero journeys through a world of unfamiliar yet strangely intimate forces, some of which severely threaten them, some of which give magical aid. When they arrive at the nadir of the mythological round, they undergo a supreme ordeal and gain their reward. Intrinsically, it is an expansion of consciousness and therewith of being. The final work is that of the return. If the powers have blessed the hero they now set forth, at the return threshold, the transcendental powers must remain behind. The hero reemerges from the kingdom of dread. The boon that they bring restores the world. A heroic tale you can build, one to remember. Not a quest of glory, but as Churchill offered, blood, toil, and tears. You may never be thanked. No pot of gold, no medals. And the people who need you the most will criticize you the most. It won't seem fair or just, except as you see humanity in its entirety. That is where courage is needed most. We start actions that we will not see finished, but the hero in me sees the hero in you. May it be so.
If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease aching or cool pain or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one love the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto this nest again, I shall not live in vain.
Hand on heart, hand out to the rest of the world. The words of Maya Angelou. Having courage does not mean that we are unafraid. Having courage and showing courage mean we face our fears. We are able to say, I have fallen, but I will get up. May it be so. Thank you. How you doing?
Good. May I have your copy?
You will get a breakout in a moment.